Well, here goes nothing. Hopefully, everybody out there in Radioville can hear us. I'm Matt Zaremski from the United Way of Rock River Valley, and I'd like to welcome everyone to our 2018 Employee Campaign Coordinator Training. As hopefully you can see and hear, this year we decided to do something a bit different and hold a live webinar. Of course, when you try something like this for the first time, there's always bumps in the road. So if you've seen my 3 emails this morning and my one yesterday, you probably understand that. But I did see that at least 10 people have gotten on Google Hangouts, and I'm sure there's a lot more listening on YouTube and hopefully hearing us and seeing our shared screen here. So like I mentioned yesterday, those of you on YouTube will not be able to comment in the comments section, but don't worry, your questions will get answered. This afternoon, a survey will be sent out to all participants from my email address, which is matthewz@unitedwayrrv.org. I'm sure you're sick of seeing that address pop up. So please feel free to reply to us with any questions you might have, as well as take the survey about the webinar. Anyone, no matter how you are viewing us, who takes the quick survey and submits it will win a $15 gift card. And one lucky winner will win a $50 Visa gift card just for submitting the survey. Those of you watching on Google Hangouts, and last I looked was about 10 of you, please feel free to ask questions in the comment section during the webinar, because at the end we'll go through them and answer them to the best of our ability. Also, those of you using Google Hangouts, if you have a webcam and or a microphone, please make sure they're deactivated by clicking on the microphone and camera icon on the top of your screen. We don't want everybody to hear everybody, right? And hopefully you're hearing us. The mic's purple. Literally, the mic hasn't turned purple in my 10 experiments with this, so I'm really hoping everybody's hearing my rant right now. Like I mentioned, as I ranted, this is something new for us, so please forgive us if you hear the microphone moving or you hear a cough in the distance. As much as we strive for perfection here at United Way, we realize this might not sound like Sirius XM HD radio, but we hope you enjoy the show anyways. So with those housekeeping items out of the way, let's move ahead with the webinar. First of all, we want to start by thanking you. As a campaign coordinator, you're the champion behind the cause, and we want to thank you for taking on this very important role. What binds us together is the belief that each of us has a stake in the success of our fellow citizen. United, we can ensure our community grows and thrives. So on behalf of all people served in our community, we thank you for coordinating your 2018 workplace campaign. So with the intros, I'm going to actually start with a few intros here from our staff who you will be hearing from today. Like I mentioned, I'm Matt Zaremski. I've been a relationship manager here at United Way for the last 7 years. So nice to talk to everybody, hopefully, today. To my right is our Vice President, Linda Sandquist. Next to her is Gina Meeks. Next to her is Maria Enciso, Director of Pledge Processing. Next to her is Gina Meeks, our Labor Engagement Manager. And finally, Nancy Jenkins, our Major Gifts Director. Now I'm going to actually hand it over to our Vice President, Linda Sandquist, to talk a little bit more about the history of our organization, as well as the direction of United Way as we move forward in 2018.
Thank you, Matt. And just so everybody out there knows, we really, all of us sitting here are giving Matt a big shout out. He has been working on this for hours and hours and sweating bullets because Matt is a perfectionist. So if our webinar is not perfection today, please excuse us. But know that we do think because of you, we are really good at raising money, and hopefully we will all agree that we're really good at making impact in the community. So thank you all for what you do and for tuning in today. Gina Meeks and I are going to give you some stories that you can share as you start talking to your fellow staff members about what United Way does in the community. And I'm going to just start by saying that the mission of United Way of Rock River Valley is to lead and unite the Rock River Valley to measurably improve lives. We are going to be celebrating our 100th birthday next year. On December 4th, 1919, a small group of people came together at Memorial Hall and decided to form a federation that would work to collect money for all nonprofits in Rockford. We're very proud to say that 98 and a half years later, we are still doing what we set out to do. We work with nonprofit agencies to make a difference in people's lives in the community. And because of you, we are able every year to raise millions of dollars that really does make an impact. A couple of years ago, we talked to you about the Strong Neighborhoods Initiative. We wanted to go into neighborhoods in the Rockford area that were under-resourced, those that had the highest unemployment and the lowest educational achievement, because we really thought that if we can make a difference in those neighborhoods, we can make a difference in the entire community. Working in those two neighborhoods, we put boots on the ground when we hired 2 neighborhood impact managers, and they are finding out from the residents what it is exactly that the residents need for their neighborhoods. One of the things that surfaced was our Strong Neighborhood Houses. The Strong Neighborhood Houses are places in the strong neighborhoods where police officers work out of on a regular basis. The thought is that by having a regular police presence in the neighborhood, it makes it safer. It also makes it friendlier. We know that adults can walk down to the Strong Neighborhood Houses any day of the week, have a cup of coffee with the community service officer who's there, and tell them what's going on in the neighborhood, good, bad, what landlords maybe need to be talked to, perhaps what crime is going on. And we really are very, very happy that we have built a relationship between residents of the neighborhoods and the police officers. The officers also, besides having regular office hours, hang out with neighborhood kids. They'll play kickball, they'll watch movies, they'll enjoy a reading club together. And what we've noticed is that kids now are not afraid of the police. It's a totally different atmosphere before. When police would come into the neighborhood, they would be coming in to look for bad things. Now we see the police officers out playing with the kids, and we even hear kids saying that someday they want to be a police officer too. As you can see from this slide, you can see where the strong neighborhoods are. You can also see that in both neighborhoods, both Midtown and Ellis Heights, the criminal offenses have gone down. So around each of our strong neighborhood houses, total crime has gone down, which we think is awesome. The police think is awesome. And we're hoping that that's one of the stories that you can share with your fellow staff members when you talk to them about giving to United Way. When you give to United Way, you can help support the Strong Neighborhood Houses in that program. The other thing that we did this summer was hosted summer block parties with the Rockford Police Department. In these neighborhoods that need a little bit of help, we blocked off the street. The police came with their little mini crime robot, their crime lab. We had social service agencies there. Head Start was there so that they could pre-screen some children for preschool. The League of Women Voters was there so that they could register voters and make sure everybody understands the importance of voting. Discovery Center brought games. We had hot dogs and granita from Zamudos. And all in all, this led to, again, building relationships with residents so that they feel safe and healthy in their neighborhoods. The block parties are one of our favorite things that we do in the summer, and we will make sure next summer that information goes out so that you and any of your fellow staff members can come and visit those block parties and really see the police and our neighborhood managers in action. Recently, we were asked to do a deeper dive into the neighborhoods. As I said, we're really very pleased with what's going on there, but our board asked that we would look a little bit more at what's happening with the middle schoolers in the neighborhood. We know that 1 out of 3 children in middle school in Winnebago County is not on track to graduate by the time they get to 9th grade. And so we're going to start working on that. We already did some transition programs with some fifth graders working on what is expected out of them in middle school, and even things as simple as how to work your combination lock, because we understood that that's a big problem. So stay tuned for that. We know that not everybody loved their middle school years, but I have to say that United Way is really excited to go work with middle schoolers. The other thing that you're seeing on the screen is a program called Rolling Strong. Rolling Strong works with middle school youth who are in trouble with the Juvenile Justice Department. It's a 10-week mentoring program that teaches bike skills and maintenance skills so that young people have something to do. It also is creating positive relationships with adults and teaching kids that when something is broken, it can be fixed. It doesn't need to be thrown away. And I would just ask you to think about what a powerful message that is. If you are a 12 or 14-year-old who's in trouble with the law, you often think, wow, I'm not worth anything, I'm worthless, you may as well just throw me away. Instead, the Rolling Strong program is working to teach kids things can be fixed, you can be taught skills, and you can be successful in life. So thank you for listening to those neighborhood initiatives and the middle school initiatives. And I'm going to turn it over to Gina Meeks, who is our labor engagement manager, and she'll tell you about a few other ones.
Thank you, Linda. We're going to move over to the next slide and talk about the iRead and the Success by Six program. Some of the earliest efforts of United Way's impact work, it began with the Success by Six initiative and its promotion of literacy. This prepares young children and parents for the skills needed to be successful in kindergarten and beyond. Because we all know learning begins in the home. Parents and families are our child's first and most important teacher. United Way recognizes that literacy is one of the most important skills when it comes to our personal growth, culture, and our development. And it's even more important today because of how our economy and our society are constantly changing. The Success by Six initiative, it provides over 40,000 new age-appropriate books to children every single year. This initiative also provides family engagement tools and other resources to thousands of families across this region. So just think about this for a moment, because I broke it all down. 24,000 books are going into the hands of 3- and 4-year-olds in the Rockford and Harlem school districts every year. Many of those books, they're the first books that some of these kids will get in their at-home libraries. I remember, on a personal note, I remember my son was 6 years old. He came home, he's 6 now, and he was 3 at the time. And he came home from daycare with this brand new book, A is for Acorn. And he just loved this book. And it was a book that, it wasn't a hand-me-down from his brother or from my childhood library. It was something new to him, and he cherished it so much. He made me read it every night. So it makes me smile knowing that United Way gives this family engaging opportunity to children and families all over this region. So expressing that to your colleagues of how these resources United Way offers can provide families with the ability to build that at-home library, to engage in daily developmental activities, and to build positive habits with their child. That may just be the messaging needed to show the impact that their dollars raised can have on our youth in the community. And these early childhood efforts, they're so, so important. Many of you may know that it's been said recently in the paper and other articles that many third graders in our region, they're just not reading at that third grade level. So to address this issue, United Way invested about 6 years ago in something called the iRead program. And this is a partnership that we have with the Literacy Council, where we're matching volunteer reading mentors with kindergarten students to increase reading proficiency. We're able to utilize well over 200 volunteers in over a dozen schools in Winnebago and Ogle County. These volunteers mentor up to 2 students for about 30 minutes during the school day. And the hope is that these volunteers will stay with that child all the way into the 3rd grade. Because this is a long-term impact. This isn't just a one and done opportunity. This is not just a PR stunt. This is good and hard work. And, most importantly, iRead is not just about reading. but it's about forming relationships around reading. I remember hearing a story about a gentleman, we're going to call him the tall guy. And the tall guy came and wanted to volunteer as an iRead volunteer. So he came into a school with a student that was hand selected by the teacher that really needed to work with someone to kind of build some social skills. And he worked with this individual, and in the beginning, they didn't really hit it off too well. This kid didn't really engage as much as the volunteer mentor would have liked. But he was persistent, and he stayed with that student week after week, and he slowly began working on building that relationship, a little less about the reading and a little more about just learning what his enjoyments were and how his life was going. And he really built a very strong relationship with this child. Unfortunately, the tall guy had to move employment. So he was shipped out of the area and no longer could be an iRead volunteer at the school. So he lost contact with that child. Fortunately, he was able to come back into the Rockford area. And the very first thing he did was take advantage of becoming an iRead volunteer again. And like I said, he was persistent. He searched for that child, and he was lucky enough to find the same child. And when he went into that classroom and that child saw him for that first moment, his eyes lit up. It was a beautiful moment for the teacher. It was a beautiful moment for the child, and a beautiful, beautiful moment for the iRead instructor. Because these children, they become very attached to their mentor. They like that person so much, which in turn, it helps them to like reading. And when a child enjoys reading more, they become better readers. And let's not forget this work that we do would be obsolete without our volunteers. I work as the labor engagement manager, so I spend a lot of my time seeking volunteers within organized labor. But this mission statement that you see there, it qualifies for every member of our community, whether they're part of labor or not. Building a stronger community by uniting workers and making a personal investment of their time and resources, it's so valuable. And the benefits of volunteering are enormous to you and your community. The right match, it can help you reduce stress, find friends, reach out to the community in new and effective ways, for you to learn new skills, even possibly advance your career. So here are some great examples that I have of United Way donors giving their time to United Way volunteer projects. The first one you'll see are the Plumbers and Pipe Fitters Local 23. They went in and replaced a broken toilet at the Veterans Drop-In Center. I don't know if you're familiar with this center, but it houses veterans every single day. They feed them in the evening, and they have clothing for them. So it's just a safe space for our veterans in this community. And the Plumbers and Pipe Fitters really wanted to do some work with our veterans. So this was their idea, to come in and replace them with a brand new toilet that was not functioning in the house. The picture at the bottom, you'll see the Cement Masons Local 11 revamping a Born Learning Trail at the Parker Early Learning Center. This just shows our labor unions and our corporate organizations, and all of our organizations are so invested in early childhood learning. They also went to our Born Learning Trails at Levings Park and Floden Boys and Girls Club. In the top right corner, you'll see a retiree engaging as an iRead volunteer. So important that we utilize our retirees during this time. And the iRead program is a great opportunity for retirees to get invested and use that free time to give back. And then down in the bottom right corner are our UTC employees taking on their annual work during the United Way's Day of Caring. And this is them doing, light work, light painting, but this project spanned all the way to heavy work of tearing down a whole garage. So, and this project down at the bottom, they handled these homes of Meals on Wheels recipients. So it went to people that were really most in need. So I just want to kind of close with saying the workplace campaign and the money that it raises, thanks to the support of you, our ECCs, it's so extremely important, and we cannot thank you enough for your efforts. And encouraging volunteerism can do so much for our community, but it can also do so much for that individual. And it's a great way to get involved and to live united. Thank you for your time. Thank you for your impact. We'll now take a look at the United Way campaign video.
Problems. The ones most people don't have the stomach for. The ones nobody talks about at cocktail parties. The ones that can't be solved. We go looking for them. In challenging neighborhoods throughout the Rock River Valley, we find every dollar we can to address them. But we're more than the fundraisers. We're the hand raisers, the game changers, the stop talking, start doing, band together and take on the impossible task masters. United, we confront the struggles of challenged neighborhoods in Rockford. United, we face domestic violence in Rochelle. United, we battle for the unemployed in Ellis Heights. United, we stand up for childhood literacy in Loves Park. No matter the obstacles, no matter the odds, we surround our community's most critical problems, and we fight. We fight for Gerardo. We fight for Curlis. We fight for Jennifer. We fight for Lakaden. We fight for Tamarius, Crystal, and Deanna. We fight for those who need a voice and those whose names we do not know. United Way fights for the health, education, and financial stability of every person in every neighborhood. Because change doesn't happen alone. Hope isn't a one-man band, and there's no such thing as self-taught or self-made. We have one life. To live better, we must live united.
So that was our actual campaign video from last year, but it's still very relevant. So I hope everyone enjoyed that. So now we're going to change base a little bit right here. If I could get the slides back up and talk about the nuts and bolts of actually running a United Way campaign. If you've attended a coordinator training in the past, you probably recognize the 10 steps on your screen. I'm going to take a few minutes and go through these steps one by one and just kind of explain some tips and best practices. I'll start with contact us, as you can see ET right there on the screen. Please feel free to reach out to Alan Jones or myself when it comes to anything campaign related. After all, that's why we're here. Like ET in the picture calling home, consider us your home when it comes to all things United Way campaign. Just last week, I was actually giving a presentation at 5 a.m. So time really isn't a factor when it comes to contacting your relationship team. If you have a question at 10 p.m., no problem. Shoot us an email, and we'll get back to you as soon as possible. So yeah, feel free to contact us about anything campaign. The second step is obtaining top management support. Before the campaign begins, it's always best to secure top management support. In our opinion, a campaign always runs better when there's buy-in from the top. I think the best way to do this is actually schedule a meeting with your manager and invite United Way in as well. We can explain best practices and ask his or her buy-in before the ball starts rolling with the actual campaign. This is another great opportunity to ask management if they would be willing to provide campaign incentives. Something as simple as a Visa gift card or a gas card for a drawing can really go a long way when it comes to employee giving to the United Way campaign. So after securing top management support, now it's time to recruit a committee. At United Way, the last thing we want our coordinators to feel like is we don't want to have them feel stressed, and we don't want them to feel pressure that they have to take care of everything. That's why we recommend recruiting a committee to help with campaign activities. And this leads me right to my next step, developing a plan with the help of your committee. Developing your plan is a very important stage of campaign prep. It's always good to sit down with your committee and talk about expectations and execution, as well as setting a goal. The best campaigns, in my opinion, set a goal and let the whole organization know that goal and how and why you were shooting for that goal. Some other possible topics to include are deciding your campaign timeline, discussing and or developing your campaign budget. And some of you are probably thinking, campaign budget? We don't have a campaign budget. That's another thing you can talk to your management about to see if they'll give you a small campaign budget to work on or work with for your special events and incentives and things like that. And don't be worried about asking for help. Keep in mind, the people who volunteer are involved because they want to be, and they can help lend energy to your campaign. Also, during this phase, deciding what your campaign activities will look like, presentations, activities, food and prizes, and finally, assigning committee tasks and establishing target dates for completion. So those are all some points that really go into the developing and planning stage for the UW campaign. Moving on to step 5, promoting and preparing. This is the step that lets everyone know at your organization that the United Way campaign is coming. Some great steps to take during this phase include publicizing your campaign, sharing how to pledge, when to pledge, and what your pledges support. Using United Way materials such as posters, videos, online resources, anything that really keeps United Way top of mind. Sending email communications to raise awareness about campaign activities and events. Creating a section on your company's intranet. So if your company has an intranet, use that to share information about the United Way and the company's campaign. And finally, offering incentives to encourage giving. Let people know, if you have incentives, let people know just by maybe being a first-time donor, or have a drawing for first-time donors and repeat donors and say, you know, if you donate, you have a chance to win, let's say, a $50 gift card. You'd be surprised how even small incentives really help out pledging when it comes to the United Way campaign. Number 6, the Charlie Brown slide, kick off your campaign. We've actually reached the time now to actually kick off your campaign. And there's many ways you can do this, but I just want to give you a few suggestions. Start by making your personal gift to the United Way before the campaign starts. It's so much easier to stand in front of your peers and say, I gave to United Way this campaign already because of this, that, or whatever's special to you. But it's great to start out early with the coordinators. If you start giving, then that starts the trail for the rest of the campaign. Start your campaign, if possible, with leadership and senior managers 1 week prior to your general campaign. This is the same thought. If employees know that top management is on board and they've already given, there's a much better chance that they will also give. It really is that simple. And finally, invite all staff to a kickoff event that communicates management support, campaign goals and activities, and feel free, obviously, to invite your United Way manager to come speak at the kickoff. Maybe you don't feel super comfortable in front of groups. That's where you call on myself, Ellen Jones, or Gina Meeks to come out and just, give that elevator speech to let your employees know the good work that United Way is doing, and we can come out and make that ask in front of the group. So don't hesitate to contact us. So after kicking off the campaign, and I kind of just touched on this, making the ask. Survey after survey tells us the same thing here at United Way. The number one reason individuals do not give is because they were not asked. We realize asking for funds can be a daunting task, but once again, feel free to reach out to us and we can come out and speak and we can make that ask. That's what we do here in the relationship management sector. That sounds very, very corporate in our department. It's live radio, everybody. A few other tips about making the ask. Make sure that everyone's asked to donate at the kickoff and at separate department meetings. And if you're not comfortable, again, have us come out. But if you are comfortable, one-on-one conversations can always be a great move to help spur pledging. Have the campaign committee personally distribute forms and ask their coworkers to join them on the pledging journey. It's great to put pledge cards in mailboxes. It's better than not doing anything. But anytime we can get that face-to-face ask, even if it's just dropping off a pledge card and telling one I read story like Gina told earlier, or whatever means something to you, that's the best way to ask. Whatever, because people can see that it's important to you, and they'll take a look a little closer about giving if they know it's important to you. Show donors the impact, and this is very important, the impact that their individual contribution makes. Giving increases when people know their gift is making a real difference. And if you need impact metrics, please reach out to us here at United Way. We can pretty much give you anything you would possibly need to show those metrics to your fellow employees. Reporting progress. Sometimes this is a forgotten step when it comes to United Way campaign. It's always great if you could keep a running total as pledges are collected. You can compare those totals to the goals identified earlier and provide regular progress updates to employees. A lot of places actually have a thermometer, and they kind of just move it up as pledges move up. So when people walk in the door, they can see, okay, we're getting closer to our goal. So anything you can do to keep fellow employees updated on how you are compared to your goal that you set in the planning phase. And it's always nice to make personal or email follow-ups with individuals who have not turned in their pledge forms. I've heard so many times that people get a pledge form, they wait a couple days, it gets buried under their desk, and they never think about it again. So it's great just to send out a quick email to say, just as a reminder, we saw that you haven't pledged yet, so if you need a new pledge card, come and see me, or I can even come drop one off. Just things like that, because, as we all know, as things pile up on the desk, sometimes they are not top of mind. So make that personal or email follow-up, and it will really help strengthen your campaign. Wrapping up here with 9 and 10, and I use the word wrap up your campaign. It's important to keep on schedule and wrap up your campaign according to your timeline. We suggest a 2-week campaign, but understand everyone has their own methods. Some steps that should be taken when wrapping up the campaign include collecting pledge forms and donations from employees, obviously. Scheduling a meeting with your United Way relationship manager to complete all required paperwork, which really isn't much. It's just tallying your pledges and filling out that black and white envelope. And if you don't know what that is, contact us and we can help you step by step. It's really not that big a deal. Reporting your final total to employees and leaderships. If you did all this planning, if you did all this promoting, it's important that employees and management know, how did we end up? Did we meet our goals? What can we do better next year? That's a very important part of the process. And finally, holding a final campaign committee meeting to evaluate your efforts. Get everybody around again, kind of see what were best practices for you and see what you can work on for next year. And obviously, this leads me right to number 10. Thank everybody. Everyone likes to feel appreciated, and this is the time to do it. Some suggestions include sending thank you emails, a thank you memo from your CEO, hang up posters that say thank you, and obviously don't forget to send a special thank you to your campaign committee, or even having a special lunch for your committee to celebrate all of the hard work and the successes of the United Way campaign. So don't forget that last step. Anybody who was involved, even if it's face-to-face email, getting everybody together for a lunch, it's so very important that everybody knows we couldn't do our work without everybody involved with the United Way process. So thank your committee and thank yourself, because you took on this task and you've put a lot of extra work in, and we recognize that at United Way. We know that it's on top of your regular job, so take some time to sit back and kind of thank yourself, and hopefully your committee does that as well. So that being said, we'll take questions at the end, and we might have a blank screen up, but we'll have the chat box up, so don't be concerned when the screen goes blank and we take questions at the end. That being said, I'm going to turn it over to Maria Inciso to talk a little bit about our ePledge service.
Thanks, Matt. Hello, everyone. United Way has, a couple years ago, instituted ePledge, which is our online giving tool for workplace campaigns. This allows your staff to pledge online. It's very easy to use. It's free for the companies. It provides a more personalized donor experience, which allows your employees to view their giving history as well as update their contact information with us. It also offers the same exact pledge options that you would have on a traditional paper pledge form. The same options apply on ePledge. It just basically 4 clicks, you're in, you make your pledge, and the best part is it gives you instant results. So you want to monitor, Matt talked about monitoring your progress. It's an easy way to monitor your progress as the information is live. Basically how it works is at the kickoff of your campaign, employees will receive an email with a link to the ePledge site in which they'll log in and make their pledge. It gives you an easy way to track the campaign. You don't have to deal with all the paper pledge cards. At the completion of your campaign, then United Way would forward a payroll file so that you can upload to your payroll. So it's quick and easy, very simple, cost efficient. We already have a handful of companies that use it, such as Field Fastener, RSM, Ortho Illinois, all have used it in the past with great success. So we really encourage any company that has employees that have a company email and have regular access to their email to set this up for you. It would be ideal for your company. A lot of our companies also run hybrid campaigns, so if you're not sure of, getting rid of the paper pledge cards, you don't have to do that. You can still do both. So that's an option as well. If you guys are interested, just let me know. You guys can shoot me an email. We did send out an email a few weeks ago regarding ePledge that you may have already received with a short survey. I can go ahead and follow up with that and send it to all the registrants of this webinar. And so if you're interested, you can get back to me. Thank you, and I look forward to getting this set up for your companies.
Hi, everybody. This is Nancy. I'm the Major Gifts Director here at the United Way Rockford Valley. And first of all, we want you to know, as you can see, Michael Scott, you are always our Beyonce. So we are so grateful that you're helping us with the campaign this year. We understand the commitment that you've undertaken with that. You are incredibly valuable to the United Way, and we want to do our best so you really do feel like Beyonce, like a $1 billion donor, forget the $1 million donor. And as all of my colleagues mentioned, we're available to you. We want to be able to give you any tools that you need so you can feel really good about the United Way and the United We Fight, United We Win 2018 campaign. So first of all, I'm going to talk a little bit about donor data. And basically, this is information, why we need information on our donors and why we may need your help to get that. It's impossible to emphasize enough how important it is to thank donors. 92% of donors say it's critically important that they are thanked. Several months ago, I was at a United Way training, and the facilitator on her plane ride to the training mentioned that next to her on the plane was a gentleman, you know how you chat with somebody who's next to you on the plane, said that he donated $25,000 for hurricane relief and never received a thank you. You can imagine what she heard that day about fund development and donating. So it's just incredibly important. If we don't have that information on who the donor is or where to find them, we cannot thank them properly. Secondly, it's important that they understand the impact of their gift, that their gift is making a difference. 46% of people stop giving because they are not communicated with about what happens to the money that they give. And 70% of those people would probably or definitely increase their donation if they had better communication on what's happening to the money they give them. So again, if whatever you can do to help us so we can get that information and connect to those people and let them know how very valuable they are. And then retention. The statistics show when people feel like they are making a difference through where they work, they are more likely to stay at the company and also be happier at the work they do. United Way offers opportunities to make a difference through work. Doing good is good for business, and it puts company values into action. And lastly, on our side, we're going to talk a little bit about retirees. And as Gina mentioned, we really depend a lot on our retirees to volunteer in the community. And having information on your retirees and keeping them connected to the United Way allows them to have access to those volunteer opportunities, and also allows them opportunities to give back to the community through their donations. So if you could help us to ensure that we can stay connected with them. Now, Major Gifts is my title, and what Major Gifts is about leadership giving. And the definition of leadership giving is a program that identifies, solicits, and recognizes individual donors who make annual gifts that range from $1,000 to $9,999. And this slide on the left shows a little breakdown on how little it really is per pay period with the different pay periods to become a leadership donor. And that leadership donors can make a big difference. And there on the slide on the right, you can see how they can help with our different programs and initiatives. But as important as a leadership giving is, we want you to know first and foremost that every single donation makes a difference. We are grateful for all donors, whatever the capacity. And this tells you what a weekly contribution would add up to for those givers. So certainly all that information's there. We have a handout available for you in your packets that will give all this to you. So thank you, thank you, thank you. I think one of the things we want to get through on this webinar more than anything is how very appreciative we are. And now back to Matt.
Thank you, Nancy. I know we're running a little close on time, but we're going to wrap up here. On your screen right now is a link to the webinar. We have this recording, so I'll send that link out with the survey as well, since you can't click on that link right now. Also, there's a link to our toolkit, which is online on our website. So things like pledge cards and PDF forms, designation cards, we'll have those what your money buys or what your money goes towards posters. So that's all on the toolkit, and I'll send that link out as well. And finally, if you can't get enough of United Way, here's a link to the United Way stores. So if you need anything branded United Way, the United Way store has you covered. So kind of sound like United Airlines. We have you covered. Okay. And finally, we just want to all thank you on behalf of our whole organization. We realize without you running your campaigns as the coordinators, we could literally not do what we do here at our offices and out in the community. You're really the linchpin that makes everything continue to go on, whether it's our agency funding, whether it's the iRead program, Success by Six, whether it's our neighborhood initiative, whether it's Rolling Strong. You are really what keeps the car rolling, what keeps the wheels spinning for our organization, and we couldn't do what we do without everyone out there listening and every ECC out there at every organization. So with that, I'm going to pop the screen down, and hopefully there's some questions. Hopefully you could hear this, because we weren't sure if it's coming through the microphone or the computer. So we apologize if it was a little low, but we did our best, and we want to thank you. And now we'll take some questions. Thank you very much. All right, let's see. I don't see any questions right now. I see that Patty got audio, so that's awesome, Patty. Any questions? Do Yeah, I was gonna say.
Yeah.
I should have played some theme music.
Actually,
for
you know
her.
what? I have a suggestion because I always have suggestions. This is Linda again. Nancy was going over the sheet that said what your dollar buys. And I think that often that is a question that people have and people will ask, well, if I give to United Way, where exactly does that go? So I just want to do two things. First of all, I want to assure everybody that 100% of everybody's donation stays right here in our community. United Way is a worldwide organization. However, every dollar that anybody gives in Winnebago or Ogle County stays in Winnebago and Ogle County. So that's a really important thing to consider when you're talking to people, because I've heard objections. Well, you know, I know that you go pay national or things, or, you know, your money goes to this. Every single one of your dollars stays in this area. When you go back and look at your webinar and it says that your weekly contribution adds up, that sheet is also, as Nancy said, in your packet of materials, the boxes and the bags that are going to be dropped off for your campaign. And I just want you to encourage you to hang that up in your workroom, in your lunchroom, maybe in your cubicle or your office. Make copies of it and hand it out to people, because that really does show what programs we have and what their dollars can do to support it. So I just think that's a great tool that we have this year and want to encourage everybody to use it.
Great. Well, it looks like we don't really have any questions, but I'm sure the YouTube audience might send a few questions out. Again, I'll send you out the survey about the webinar later this afternoon. And again, if you have any questions, do not hold back. Just email me right back and we will answer those questions. So I believe, unless anybody has anything else to add, we are going to stop the broadcast, which is kind of funny, but that's what it says on the screen. So thank you, everybody, and everybody have a great day.
Thank you.
Bye, thanks.